Hey, Jeff, where'd you come from?
Just hanging out, napping under the desk. How about you?
Same, man. It just my alarm rung. It said time to talk to Jeff Cross for ZLS 023.
That's one of the best things I think we've done at Nrwl is the mandatory nap time every day, and we have cameras under everyone's desk to make sure they're napping, and we have AI that makes sure it's not like them like gaming it to look like a loop or something like that. So, of all the mistakes Victor has made at Nrwl, I think that's one of the things that I've done well. Is
Nice,
that decree.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, for those who don't know, Jeff's my boss. I will work at Nrwl.
Not
Jeff
directly.
Yeah, that's true. Not directly. Not anymore.
Yeah, I changed that as quick as I could.
Yeah. But yeah, Jeff, do you want to tell us a little about?
I'm also your office mate. We have a special bond. We're in the Phoenix office together.
Yeah.
You, me, and Carol.
Yeah, but y'all put me in the other room.
Do you want to be in the same room?
No.
Do you want to be less physically distant? Well, we for the record, we don't work in the office now. We all work.
Yeah, we still have it. I was there a couple of weeks back. I actually grabbed all of the rest of my stuff because I've actually been liking doing the remote stuff.
It's a mixed bag. So like I like it. It's like nice to be home with the kids and a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to focus. It's pretty difficult to focus during the day when, they're all doing their things, being loud and coming in and talking to me, which, is great though. It's like, it's nice to be able to see them so much, but I go to the office sometimes just to, if I have meetings or if I just need to focus down on something like some deep work, then I'll go to the office. But the worst part is like nighttime is the best time to focus for me lately. Mm-hmm. And in our office, the AC doesn't run at night.
Yeah.
Or like it runs at a really different level. And so it's like you have to let them know in advance and you have to pay $10 an hour for them to run the AC if you want to go to the office. So it's just like,
what? I've been there a couple times that night, and the thing I noticed, so they didn't have the air conditioning running, but there's like stuff running up to the ceiling. I don't know what it was, but it's definitely like something up there making some noises in the AC.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
The AC banshees.
Maybe. AC banshees. I don't know what could get stuck in there, but yeah. So Jeff, you're CEO of Nrwl, is that right?
Yeah, Victor and I are basically co-CEOs, but
yeah, on the website, I think it just has you both as co-founders.
So I'm technically the CEO, but in terms of like he and I make a lot of decisions together. So I'm kind of the CEO / chief operations officer, and he's like the CEO / CTO. But since I'm the one who filed the corporate paperwork, I just made myself CEO.
Nice. Cool. Makes sense. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk to you about is
Frosty's cheering on the Victor Burns. I got Victor Burns all day. You just buckle up.
There you go, Frosty.
Victor loves it though.
Yeah, Aaron said something about Nrwl acquiring hero devs. Is that a thing?
I don't see that. Your comments must be faster than mine.
No, he was telling me this in person. That Nrwl's trying to do it, but he won't sell, something like that.
Yeah. There's an open offer anytime. I mean, at this point, like that, maybe they'll acquire Nrwl at some point. We'll see.
There you go. They're making some cool stuff over there. I had him over on the show for Tuesday, and we showed off Scully. Talked about Scully Cloud a little bit. But yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's I think they're still working on it, Aaron. I don't know. Let me know if it's out already. NX Cloud versus Scully Cloud.
Yeah, everybody's got to have a cloud.
Everyone's got to have a cloud.
Jeff Cloud is scheduled to be announced later this week. So this is the pre-announcement. It's pig hosting.
Pig hosting. Send your pigs to Jeff. He'll have them at his house for free.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you own Cooney pigs.
Yeah.
How's that treating you?
Good. Yeah, it's funny to think I got my first two pigs in March, like March 6th, I think. And so it was right before things started going into lockdown and working from home. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember. We were at your place on the farm, and we got to see it was Cheddar or not Cheddar, Charles Jr. and it was named after that cartoon pig my kids always watch, Peppa,
there you
right?
go. I wasn't going to give it to you. I knew you'd get it.
But yeah, I was able to bring my kids. They love the pigs. They also
They're
like
so much bigger now. You wouldn't believe how much bigger they are than when you saw them.
even Peppa. Peppa was pretty big at the time.
Yeah, she's huge.
Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine.
Charles Jr. too. Charles Jr. is about caught up with her. Yeah, Frosty's asking if Cheddar's going to be on. Sarah just left, and so she would have been the one to bring Cheddar in. She did it yesterday. And I said, "Oh, you got to do it again today while I'm on this call." And she's like, "Nah, he wasn't happy when I did it. He just wanted to get back out to the pasture." So she said she's not going to bring him. And I don't know how to do this on my phone to go out to him. So sorry, no. But I can show pictures. Zach and I were just pictures of Cheddar.
Yeah, it's cool. You've got pictures you showed me of Cheddar like it's one of your kids. I like to see that kind of dedication in a pet owner. So what else do you have on the farm? You've got the 3 Kuni pigs now. Are you going to get more, or are you going to stay at 3?
We'll probably get some other types of animals. Like we've been tempted to get more because I was telling you, I'm in Facebook groups with a bunch of Kuni pig owners, and they're a bunch of breeders in there, and they post their piglets when they're born, and it's always tempting when you see one with a cool pattern or cool colors. Because Kuni pigs are really they're really beautiful, and like in an ugly pig sort of way, like they get really ugly faces that are. Well,
they get those wattles, right?
Yeah, they get wattles. So most of them have 2 wattles hanging from their neck, but they're really hairy, and they're short. So they have short legs. They're a little bit smaller than most hogs. They're probably about the same size as a potbelly pig. Maybe a little bigger, but they've got really great personalities. They're super friendly, super docile. They love belly rubs. They graze. So they're one of I think they're the only breed of pig that grazes to get most of its nutrition. So, but they're really cute. So like Cheddar is a ginger pig. And then there are some pigs that are like black with a white stripe in the middle, or some that look kind of like sheep. So they're just a really hairy, cool pig. And so it's always tempting when you see some piglets to try to get another one, but we've resisted. It's a lot of work because you keep them inside for a little bit and then integrate them with the other pigs. So it's kind of a commitment. But we also have chickens. The chickens are entertaining, but not quite like a pig.
That's what I was thinking, Nicole. She said like a skunk pig. That's kind of what it sounded like.
Did I say skunk pig?
No, you said that it was a black pig with like a white stripe, and I thought I was like, how does that look?
Yeah, so it's actually more like a band. So instead of a stripe going down its back,
it's like the other way.
Yeah. So if you were on, like people call them Oreos because they have like their head and their back is black hair and then white hair down a band, like a belt around their stomach.
Yeah.
But a skunk pig would be cute too. I bet there are some who look like skunks.
That'd be neat. Yeah, you sent us, I think it was in our Slack channel, like our Phoenix Slack channel, you sent the link to the it was talking about the pigs and the breeding habits.
Yeah, there was sometimes I'm not sure if I should share it because like in the groups
you put a warning on it. You put like a content warning on it.
Yeah. So in the groups, people they're like, as I'm more integrated in this kind of farmer lifestyle or wannabe farmer lifestyle, you get more used to talking about breeding and everything that goes with that. And so it's like, maybe I should after I posted, I was like, maybe people don't want to see about like all these pigs who might be the father. But yeah, there was a post where there was a litter of piglets and they know who the mother is, obviously, the one who popped out all the piglets. But there were several different boars at the farm who could have been the father. And so I shared this post that just had these hilarious descriptions of all the boars' personalities who might be the father, so people who were thinking about getting the piglets can know who the father might be.
Yeah.
But they're doing DNA testing.
They did DNA testing?
Yeah, all the breeders always do DNA. So like,
Okay.
because to get it registered as like a legit kuni, you have with the associations, you have to do DNA tests. So they would find out. So it's like a Maury show, you know. You get to see all the potential fathers on there, and but it was just funny descriptions, because I love pigs and I love seeing just them describing the personas of the different pigs and how, you know, they're lazy, or they don't have. Anyway, I won't go into what the descriptions were, but they're pretty funny.
Yeah, well, pigs are very smart. My dad refuses to eat pig for exactly that reason. Like,
yeah, I don't eat pork anymore because I see them and I'm just like, Charles Jr., who I don't talk about enough, but he is the sweetest pig. He's like he's friends with every animal. He gets excited when he sees people, and like if people walk by the sidewalk by our pasture, he always runs up to them to like talk to them and like follow them along the edge. And if they have a dog, he'll be talking to the dogs. When our neighbors' horses and dogs come to the fence, he always goes over to see them and like wink at them. And same with people. Like, he's just like loves to come up, and he's just got such a sweet face. But yeah, they're really smart. They'll always find a way to get food. So they'll be the last surviving species on the earth, because if there's food somewhere, they'll find it. And they'll escape any kind of fence you put up, no matter how strong you might think it is, to get to the snack they want.
Yeah, I learned from movies that if you ever want to get rid of a human body, a pig's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, I wonder. I wouldn't put it past them to, if it was a last resort, to eat me. But you know, that's fine.
You love them anyways.
I'm glad to be nourishment.
The true nourishing father, Jeff Cross.
Exactly. Now my kids, I wouldn't let them. But
nice. Well, Jeff,
I would put a post-it note on myself before, like in the apocalypse or some zombie thing, I would put a note that says, you know, Charlie Simon Theodore, no, like, you cannot eat me. Anyone else, any other pigs?
Pigs fine. Is fine.
Even the cat, if the cat would benefit from it, fine. Anyway, is this the direction you wanted to go with this?
No. I mean, this is interesting for sure, but I want to keep it more onto I don't know, software stuff and stuff like that. So one of the things I think is most interesting about you, Jeff, is your background being able to take open source projects and turn them into businesses, right? So you're kind of doing that with Nrwl now. Like, NX has always been the Nrwl thing, right? So and
we started off as Angular being the thing, and then we decided it was worthwhile to do NX. Okay.
So with Angular, that was kind of, well, you had worked on it a lot. Jeff is a Jeff of all trades, says Nicole. but that was, I mean, it's kind of still in Google's court, right? Like, they can they could close source at any time, really, right?
Yeah, technically. Doubtful that they would. Like, I don't see that as a risk, but but there are other things. I mean, they control the direction of it, and it's something where it's hard for. So when we started the business, I had friends who worked at a company called Strong Loop that they were basically the Nrwl of Node before Nrwl was a thing. So they had a lot of the core contributors to Node. Were founders there, early employees there, and they were helping enterprises who were using Node by giving, like, they had a distribution of Node that they supported that was, you know, took away some of the risks, added some of the common things that were needed, and enterprises knew they could rely on it and get things taken care of by Strong Loop if need be. And they also built their own Node tools, like Node. I think NodeMon was what they acquired and made part of their toolkit. And they had this whole stack called Loopback, which they still have. It's kind of morphed into an IBM product since they've been acquired. But anyway, so I had friends there. I was friends with. I had actually almost gone to work there when I went to Google. That was when I was talking with them because my partner at my previous company and we decided to close the company, and he was moving on to Strong Loop, and I was perhaps, but I decided to go to Google.
Well, can we talk about your previous company a little bit too? Because that was kind of a similar idea, right? You had an open source project and you were looking to build your business around it.
So that was, I would call that a great learning experience. I wouldn't call it like we weren't able to make it a successful open source based business. I learned prior to that company, I worked at another company called Unicon here locally in Gilbert, where they are a pretty successful open source based consulting company. Like their focus is higher education, professional services, and open source tools. Like there was one called uPortal, which is like a university portal, and they would also work with other tools like learning management systems, a lot of authentication tools. And so I learned a lot there, like just seeing how they built their business around these open source projects. So they had a lot of the core contributors of those projects, and then we had a nice niche of professional services for those things because we had the people there who could help evolve the projects as they go. Or like as clients are working with them and as new needs come up, like they knew that we had influence on it. So that I did that, but then I started this new company, Deployed, with my friend Richie Martori, and the goal of that, it was basically a backend as a service before backends as a service existed. So we were actually around the same time that like there was the big competitors at that time. I think the only thing that existed, I can't remember the name of the tool, but after we started it, like things like Parse, then Firebase, Deployed without the second E. Yes, it was the Rad Silicon Valley, DEPLOYD.
Was there an apostrophe in there?
No, and it's actually still a maintained project. There are folks who still work on it to a lesser degree. Like I don't think it's as active, but basically it had some great ideas that I think are still better than a lot of the backend as a service offerings. But we basically what it was is you create a new backend with it, and it has a GUI, so it has a dashboard, a web-based dashboard that you just create new resources that automatically create JSON endpoints for you, and then you configure it all through the GUI. Like you add properties, you configure lots of different things to it, and it's all backed by JSON that's stored locally, so it's all version controlled, unlike a lot of the web-based backends as a service where there's no versioning. Right. So it's actually everything it's doing is represented in a file system, so you can check it in and you can have that history there, and then you can. But anyway, so there's lots of things like that where you basically within a minute or two you could set up an endpoint, set up an API, and start building your app with it, and then there were lots of advanced things for how you could tie authentication into certain things and how you could transform requests really easily. But so yeah, we were building that, and then to drive that company, we were basically doing consulting on the side, but it wasn't related to Deployed. It was we were doing consulting just to fund Deployed development, and we were trying to build a cloud platform for Deployed. So it was all open source. It was all like we were solving interesting problems in really interesting ways, and we actually started to have some traction with it as we kind of got our footing and kind of figured out what it should be, and it was starting to get open source adoption. But we were never able to really get. It was two of us plus one part-time employee, and we were also doing contract work on the side. So it was impressive how much we could get done, but also like it was hard for us to build the cloud product while also building the open source product and focusing on getting growth of that to where we could, would actually have enough of a base that our cloud product could be profitable. And we actually tried to raise funding for it, But by the time we were raising funding, there were already well-funded people with good traction. So there was Parse, Firebase, two big ones, already had lots of venture capital, and we're getting lots of Parse is the thing from they got acquired by Facebook, but it's parse.com. It may still be active. Let me see. Now it's parseplatform.org because they open sourced it after Facebook shut it down. Mm-hmm. But they were the popular one, and they had a really good model. They didn't have a lot of the same developer oriented things that we did. It was a really good experience, but like we did things like the being able to commit to version control was a big deal. We had this really interesting event model built in to where you could easily hook into all methods of requests and write simple JavaScript to do things like transforming the requests and doing things with authentication, doing your own designs, your own roles. It is still something that we're all proud of. Like me, Richie, and our.
I can tell just the way you're talking about it. You're still very proud of this project. So.
Yeah, and if go look at the demo video, because if you go to deploy.com.
Do you want to show it? You can share your screen here if
sure.
you want to show it off.
Well, I'll show the site. I won't try to play the video because you know how well that goes.
Sure. Do you see the little share screen there in the StreamYard? Yeah, there you go. Let me add it. There you go. So let me hide this over here.
So yeah, we got so this is the site. This is the same site as it was back in 2012.
Yeah.
So, like for 2012, pretty good site. My friend Jordan helped design it.
I wouldn't have thought this was 2012 if you hadn't said that.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. But yeah, so we limit. So it's the resources were the plugin of the platform. Everything was JavaScript. It was on Mongo before Mongo got so much hate or so much shade.
Yeah, every time I mention Mongo now, it's like people start talking about web scale in chat.
So one cool thing was we had this client library that was a dynamic library returned by the server. So it always had had the resources as part of the library. So so it was all like dpd my endpoint.get or something like that, and it just worked. So you didn't have to use an HTTP library or anything. It did all that under the hood for you. Like here, the collection name. So the collection is one type of resource, the most popular type. And here's some examples how you could, like an event script. So there would be a get event script for this, and you could return, like if you're getting a post from a blog post, you could access a different collection of comments and get the comments that go with that post and then attach it to the post before returning it. So that's like, this is one of the key things that made it really simple to do. Basic logic on endpoints. And we also had our own authentication, of course, and advanced queries, like where you could basically proxy. And we had a subset of Mongo query language that we supported that you could do from the client, which was like a lot of these things were ahead of their time. And I think like design wise, we did really well in terms of like marketing and growth. That were the things that neither of us had any idea how to do with open source. And we both learned a ton since then. But so this, like if I hadn't done this, Nrwl would have failed because there were a lot of things I learned from just this experience of all the things needed to succeed in building something on open source.
What would you say was your biggest lesson from this?
I think so getting things out as early as possible. So like don't try to get things perfect. Don't like even if it's uncomfortable to get things in front of folks. Like you don't feel it's ready, or you can in your head imagine the ways people will interpret it or criticize or whatever. Just do it and deal with it. Like just live with whatever might come. Because we had been working on our cloud platform, and we had decided to before we actually launched it, we decided to go back to drawing board, do it again before we even had users using it, telling us what to do. The other side is, but yeah, like funding, he and I, my partner and I, had decided like by the end of the year, if we don't either hit this revenue milestone or raise funding, then we'll move on. And we held ourselves to that, just because it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of thinking, okay, we're this close, we're this close, we're this close. You really need to be disciplined and say, okay, if by this time, no matter what it seems like might happen, if we haven't hit it, we need to be honest with ourselves and move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably the just getting things out there. There are lots of things we should have done differently. The timing was also tough. Like when we had the idea, there wasn't a lot out there that did what we were aiming to do, and then
they start coming up as soon as you started in on it.
Yeah, and then you have to be significantly better and obviously better than those options. And people would see this and say, okay, technically it looks interesting, but does it have the same backing that these other projects do? Is it getting the same adoption at the same rate?
Well, do you think being open source set you apart in some way? Like I don't know anything about parse, but I imagine it wasn't open source, and Firebase clearly isn't open source either. So.
Yeah, so I mean, so for people who understood open source and then found deployed, then they were the ones who were like, okay, yeah, this is a thing I want to choose. This is a thing I want to base my product on. Especially because if our company goes away, then whatever, they've got it all. It works. They can deploy it anywhere. So our cloud was just an optional thing that we were adding some conveniences to make it really easy. Before things like Netlify and Heroku were mainstream. Heroku was probably mainstream, actually.
Do you think that attitudes have changed over the last 8 years from when you started here towards open source?
To like where they might prefer it more?
I imagine maybe 8 years ago, being open source is kind of like, oh, well, I guess that's nice if we can look at the source code. But now it's like, I think people are more attuned to things you're saying because of like Frosty is saying, you get all these companies that get bought up and then shut down. Just look at all the projects Google's killed. So
yeah, I think definitely the trend is in that direction, especially with enterprise. They care a lot more about avoiding vendor lock-in. So they'll do vendor lock-in for what you might call the last mile type of thing. So like if you have a platform and it's like for NX, for example, we have NX Cloud and like it's our own analytics product, and like we have some stuff built into that. Enterprises are okay with having like, if they would buy into NX Cloud and it works really well and does all these things, they know that they could just eliminate that and everything they've built still works, and like they can actually keep on using NX open source, the full, like, because everything with NX is open source. We just have this cloud addition to it that adds like analytics and things that you do in the cloud.
Right.
So it is becoming a requirement for most open sources, or for most enterprises that they. Well, like with some caveats, like because they still use Oracle and like mostly for legacy stuff, but for like new purchases and going forward, they're more prioritizing open source.
Cool,
they want to be able to fire vendors if they need to, which who can blame them?
Nice. So y'all were at it for a year, and numbers weren't at where you wanted them to be. So your friend went off to work for this place that got acquired by IBM. What was the name of Strong Loop? Right. And is that when you went to Google, or did you do something else at that point?
It's just for a couple months. I was doing contract work for my previous employer, Unicon, that I mentioned earlier, and then when that was starting to wind down, then I started looking for something new. And so I'd reached out. Brad Green from the Angular team and I had actually talked a little bit during the deployed time, because they were on the Angular team starting to notice that people in the Angular community were using deployed with Angular, and Brad was, like, hey, how can we work together? And so when I decided to look for something, I emailed Brad and said, hey, any chance I could work at Google? And he was like, sure, come on. And so then I started working at Google.
Nice.
I mean, it was a lot more difficult than that, but he helped me get into the interview process, and I was late in the stage with 2 other companies, I think, who I'd had offers from, and so he was able to like get the interviews lined up pretty quickly, and so I flew out, did the interviews, and eventually joined the team.
Nice. Was there any looking back to deployed while you were in that transition, or were you just kind of closed the book on that?
We, like Rich and I both were doing a little bit here and there, but yeah, it was kind of no, I wasn't in the Bay Area yet. I lived in Phoenix, and then when I got hired at Google, then I moved to Mountain View. And but yeah, we kind of would help maintain it, but it kind of stagnated. And then some folks from the community reached out and said, "Hey, we love deployed. Like, we see you don't have as much time." I wanted to have time. Like, I wished that it could have that my work on the Angular team would have aligned more with it. I kind of hoped that it would, but it just didn't. And so I didn't have a lot of free time in the evenings and stuff to keep working on it. And so, yeah, so some people asked to take over, and I was like, yeah, of course. And so helped them take on maintaining it and help whatever little ways I could. And yeah, then it was all Angular all the time.
All Angular all the time. And so you went right to Angular, and you were on mobile, is that right?
So for the first couple of years, it was mostly AngularJS everything, because it was like 2013. I don't remember when we actually started getting the whole team moved to Angular 2 development. But to start, I was doing a lot with data, like different kind of data integrations with Angular, like figuring out different ways to bind with real-time data. Promises, and like starting to focus more on the async primitives, and making our promises. And Frosty posted a link to my first ever ngconf talk.
Nice.
About prototyping deployed, which is that's a good talk to like see like how quickly you can do stuff with. And deployed is still awesome for prototyping. It may be good for production, I don't know, but for prototyping, it's awesome. It's really easy.
Nice.
But yeah, so I focused on that. So I would work in AngularJS on some of that. I worked with other teams. Like we were doing, I remember one of the first things I was doing was working on object.observe and doing some benchmarks with that and seeing if it performed well enough to be a substitute for how we were doing dirty checking. And the short story is no, it was not. Which is why it's not really a thing anymore. But
yeah.
But we wanted it to be. That's always been on the team. We've always wanted to take advantage of standards and take advantage of things that were done for us in the browser if we could. But just for that and some other things, it's just always been like an iterative process to either it's not good enough yet or it never will be good enough.
Right.
But then, yeah, when we started focusing on Angular 2, I was still focusing on data, like on this, like we called it data, but it's also like encompasses state management and just the async primitives of Angular. So like I brought Alex Rickabaugh onto the Angular team to work on my little sub team of focusing on data, because he was doing that with an adjacent project at Google with Angular Dart. And,
Frosty they just released their Angular episode or Angular show episode about this stuff. So
and Alex was talking about tactical project we worked on that I barely remembered.
It sounded so cool when I heard.
He was the mastermind of it. So he was a lot more involved with it than I was. So it makes sense. He remembers it in more detail.
Well. So Alex on Frosty says he remembered. Alex on his show said that NGRX was kind of like the spiritual ancestor to tactical, and that's exactly where I went when I started hearing about it. Like tactical, if it were something different than NGRX, it would almost be like specific API for handling certain tactics, as you called them. So certain strategies for how you want to deal with persisting state. But like all the things that you described doing there, like that's the kind of stuff when I'm building my NGRX store, like that's the stuff I'm doing. I'm just doing it like manually at some lower level, building my object. So
yeah, he had some really. Alex is always really good at like that kind of design of things, and he had been working on something called Streamy before, like, so that's why he and I started collaborating, because he was using Angular Dart on this huge project. Right. And they'd built something called Streamy that was really interesting. It was a stream-based data management library, and so I was like, it's really cool. We should look at like if we could do something along those lines for Angular. And I made him an offer I couldn't refuse. And just kidding. Like, it was me asking, "Hey, Brad, can he come from your other team to this team?" And Brad was like, "Maybe," and eventually said yes. So. Yeah, it was really fun to collaborate on it. And that was when RxJS was really new to us at the Angular team. Like I knew Ben and Ben Lesh, like Ben Lesh and I were friends already because he was contributing to Angular in other ways, like for SVG support in particular.
Was he on the team at the time?
And then he was getting really into RxJS himself and had just agreed to, like internally at Netflix, they had agreed that he would start writing the new RxJS library in collaboration with Matt Padwazaki and other folks. I'm trying to think other folks at Netflix and in the community, who would also be involved in the effort. And Ben had been working with me and some other folks to kind of help us drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Dude, once you get a taste of that Kool-Aid, it's hard to go back. Like once you start thinking about things in terms of like the library RxJS gives you, it's like I can't go back to just regular change detection anymore. I can't like imperatively just set properties. It's not that. It's the stream, this precise stream. So.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think the time that we had kind of the turning point was Igor Minar and I went to a talk at Netflix. Like a tech talk at their public developer meetup, and Jafar Hussein was speaking there. And so if you know Jafar, he's like he can convince anyone of anything the way he talks. And
I know him through the videos you had me watch of him, and he's very interesting, and the stuff he was working on sounds extremely interesting too.
Yeah, he's a really good communicator too. So I would love if I could communicate the way he does. But so he gave a talk about RxJS and generators and some of the new specs coming, and how kind of RxJS might fit into that. And that was when we had started seeing that maybe this would be a good thing to really integrate into Angular 2. And so Alex and I were probably the first people to really get into it because we were building stuff with data and streams from Dart. Streams from Dart are basically the same. I believe semantically identical to RxJS. I don't remember if there was anything different.
I think the concept of a cold stream doesn't exist in Dart. If I'm, I don't know. I haven't done enough in Dart to say that is true or not.
I think, it's been so long that I wouldn't be confident to say yes, but I think they were.
My exposure to Dart is messing around with Flutter a little bit, so that's about all I've done. But
so we actually I'm pretty sure they must, because when we started developing Angular 2, we started as building as a TypeScript code base. Actually, we started as an @script code base before we decided to base it on TypeScript. And we started off as building it as a single code base in TypeScript that we had a transpiler using the Tracer framework, or the Tracer project, which was like the earliest ES6 transpilation tool, like pre-Babel and pre-TypeScript, was maintained by someone at Google. But my kids just got home from swimming.
Nice.
All right, Charlie, can you take that out of the office? Okay. Thanks, buddy. Pretty sure you need to take a shower too. But we were transpiling to both JavaScript, ES5, and Dart from that code base. So every primitive we had to have a facade for. So like arrays, we had a list wrapper facade. So we couldn't actually in our framework code, we could never actually have an array literal or say new array. We had to say like list wrapper.create or something like that, which was super cumbersome. So I think because we had that, I think cold streams would have to be supported by Dart, or else.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that otherwise.
Yeah, or else we would just have to say we can't support any cold streams. Yeah. Frosty has this favorite talk that Alex Riccobon and I gave at NG Vegas. Yeah, that he was the only one laughing at.
Yeah, that's what he said on the Angular show. It was like he did it all just for him.
It was fun. It was our first talk together, and we both had fun doing it. But Frosty was the only one laughing at all of our dry humor.
Nice.
But so that was the kind of the. But so that's just my long explanation of disproving you about cold streams not existing in Dart. Is that they must exist.
They must exist. Fair enough. Clearly, I'm misunderstanding something in that line. But yeah, so going to at this state in the story, we are. So you're looking at RxJS, but you're still at script. You haven't gone to TypeScript.
At that point, when I don't think we ever had the facade until we had TypeScript. So, but it's funny because we had to maintain this facade library that would translate everything into both JavaScript and Dart. So like XML HTTP requests, when we wrote the HTTP library, we had to have two different ways of actually mechanically handling that. And that's like, so the HTTP library that got released with Angular 2 was kind of cumbersome and kind of like had some rough edges. And a lot of that was because of the necessity of transpiling to Dart. Like you had to write something that would be able to support both, which we eventually just got away from. So we eventually the facade got better, or the transpilation got better, where you could actually use literals and all these things without having to do too much. Sorry for my children crying in the background.
It's all right. We can hear you pretty well.
Yeah.
We'll just tune them out.
But but eventually we actually just separated it, and at some point we said, okay, Dart will be a fork, and then we'll just have Angular be TypeScript directly and no facades. And things have gotten better since then. Very
nice. I remember, so this around here is when I start entering the fray. I've just graduated from college, getting my degree, and Angular 2's coming out, and I remember everyone losing their freaking minds because it's in TypeScript, and they everyone hated it for some reason.
TypeScript and RxJS were both kind of controversial.
Yeah,
RxJS continues to be kind of controversial, I think, for legitimate reasons. I think that it is prone to it's powerful, but it can be difficult to understand or to learn. But also the domain it's solving is hard. It's hard to get right any kind of state. Frost is asking. I don't believe so. What was it called? Something future, something Angular 2 future of data in Angular 2. How could it be gone? No, I found it right here.
Here, post a link into the chat. And you want to share it too?
Yeah. All right, so here it is. Keynote, Beyond NG Resource, the Future of Data in Angular. See, there's a little preview. Alex and I wearing our, we ordered a bunch of stuff off of Amazon as costumes for this this talk. We ordered these future glasses. We ordered some LED lights that we hung around ourselves and were blinking. I forget what else, but the whole thing was that we had time traveled back to 2015 to talk about the future of how amazing data and everything had gotten since then.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a great talk. At least we thought so.
That's all that matters, right?
So
Yeah. Now, years later, on a podcast with me, you can talk about it.
exactly.
Cool. So yeah, but it's still I think it still amazes me how Angular got so many things right there. Because TypeScript, I think, so RxJS, maybe the jury's still out on that one a little bit. Maybe there's
I'm still big on RxJS, and I think it is.
Me
I think
too.
it's just something that the problems it solves have been solved in suboptimal, easier to understand ways.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Me and Wes were looking at Vue yesterday, and just looking at so that what was it called? It was the new, oh, I forget what it's called. Some new API they're introducing in Vue 3. But it's just doing like ArcsJS stuff, but in a way where you don't have quite as much control over it, in a way where you can't compose with it quite as much. And it saw it pretty clearly just looking at the API. It's understandable. Like it's definitely a lot easier. It's definitely a lot easier to understand. But you're probably, I got to see you're limited by what all exactly you can do as opposed to ArcsJS. And I don't know.
Sometimes constraints are good.
Go ahead.
Sometimes constraints are good, but everything in engineering is trade-offs. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the big trade-off with ArcsJS is you have this steep initial investment of learning everything and figuring out how to test stuff and figuring out all these different pieces about the library. Yeah. But if you're willing to pay that initial investment, it's so worth the investment. I think it makes all your code much simpler to read and understand once you have a team that can really understand what the library is there for.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Daddy.
Hi, buddy.
Daddy.
Yeah.
What kind of controller?
I don't know. Ask Charlie.
Is he playing with a pet pig right there?
Yeah, he got a new pet pig from his cousin.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I don't know why I got that.
So
all right, buddy. I need to go back to my meeting. Okay. Love you.
So how did y'all, like, did you have a crystal ball or something? How did you know these things were going to be big? ArcsJS and TypeScript.
I mean, we got a lot of flack. Like sometimes I point back to, like, I created a Google group so I was the tech lead of our data in Angular efforts. And so I created a Google group with myself and Alex, and as well as a bunch of people from the community who I knew were interested in this, like Ward Bell, John Papa, Ben Grunbaum, Rob Wormald. Actually, that's how he started to get more involved, was through that group.
Oh, nice.
But one of the first things, so I posted some things in there. I was like, hey, like, welcome to the group. Here's some ideas. And then I posted a proposal for, I created a GitHub issue or something where I said, okay, here's my design doc for the HTTP library in Angular 2. And it was observable based, which was, didn't make a lot of sense. But Ben Lesh and I had really hashed through the design, as well as Caitlin Potter was involved with that, and Alex Ricapal. We were, I think, the four of us were the main ones working on that. And so we put it out there, and that was controversial. It got pretty heated, actually. And even Rob started on the side of saying, I don't think observables make sense for this. And then that's when he really had his during that thread is when he had kind of his transformation to doing more research, looking more into it. And by the end of it, he was like, no, this is like the way. This is how we should be doing it.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then he goes on to do NGRX, right?
Yeah. But there was, like, a lot of people were very against it as HTTP because observables are capable of doing many things. It was basically like, why observable instead of promise? And a big part was the composability, like the coldness of observables, which make them much more composable, as well as the fact that it's cancelable, which is not just a performance thing, but also cancels the side effects that happen. Like once a request has started, canceling the side effects that happen after the fact, instead of doing the roundabout things you would do with a promise to try catch and implement your own cancellation. And retries became retries were a matter of using the retry operator. So many things were more ergonomic with observable than promise, but it was not easy to convince people. But that was a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you convinced enough people. I know at the start, as I was learning stuff, when you Googled for stuff, because you're Googling for Angular, it wasn't sure whether you'd get Angular or Angular JS. And you did like just Googling for answers, and you'd find a lot of people just like, I hate TypeScript, I hate ArcsJS. And it's like, that's, I don't know, coming into that fresh, like that, this is where I enter into like web development. Is all I knew was Angular. And it was really, really good at actually guiding me through learning a lot of stuff you need to learn for like front end web development, I thought. And like TypeScript in no way felt restrictive. And if anything, it felt like, okay, this looks familiar, because I'm used to like Java and stuff at that point. So.
We were nervous about it because that was another thing that people pushed back on. It was like, okay, TypeScript is fine, but you need to have just as good of an experience without TypeScript for people who. So we focused a lot on like having a distribution that was just like ES6 and also ES5 with the globals and stuff. And but over time, it's like everyone's using TypeScript, and like in reality, when like in the first year or so after it was released, it was still in the mode of like, let's keep maintaining all these, and then eventually it was like, everyone seems fine with TypeScript. Why are we still supporting these other things or giving so much weight to these things that the community doesn't seem to care about as much as we thought they would. So, so I think TypeScript has been a huge success story. I think everyone now, that's one of the clear things where everyone's like, yeah, this has made things better.
Yeah, I'm super excited for Dino. I really want to get my hands deeper into that. Like I just love TypeScript so much, and to be able to have like a more secure, I don't know what the right word is, solid, maybe TypeScript TypeScript based ecosystem sounds really, really cool. So I need to get into that some more. But anyway, so and another thing I think was worth mentioning is just like, I think without Angular, TypeScript wouldn't be where it is now. Like y'all really pushed that to the point where like I think more people got into TypeScript and kind of forced TypeScript's hand to like go a little faster at some stuff. That's my impression. I don't know if that's accurate, but
I'll let the TypeScript team speak to that. I agree. I think there's definitely I think it's had a significant impact on TypeScript's growth. But the team has always executed well. The TypeScript team has I'm not trying to pay lip service to them, but they've got really solid people on the team. They've always been very disciplined. So when running anything open source, like your ability to say no to the right things is one of the most important things, and they do that really well. Like people pressure them to get more involved in the compilation side of things and like take on more scope. And they've always said, we think we're best by focusing on these things, like focusing on the language, focusing on tools that other tools can build on top of. And so I don't think it was like, I think they were already doing well, but then they had a big customer with us. So we were helping to drive some things like, okay, here's something else that's needed. And they were really responsive to those things. Like the ArcsJS actually.
Right? Decorators were something they invented. They brought into the language for Angular. Is that right? Or am I making that up?
Saying invented isn't. I'll criticize that word, but
sorry, Jeff.
that's all I do is criticize. No, they created it though, they brought it, but it was based on prior art from a bunch of other languages. Somehow I've ended up with all three of my children in my office.
That's all right. Do you need to end early? Do you want to spend some time with
them? No, they just we just got a new Nintendo Switch Lite today, and they're all excited.
Oh, nice.
Hey guys, you gotta be quiet. Here. All right, Charlie, get out of the office. Go to the living room. Take it to the living room, okay?
Oh.
Hey, bud.
You just stole it from me.
All right. Well, Hugo, take it out there. Or take it out of the office.
Give it to me.
Go out that way.
Is he supposed to give it to me?
I don't know.
He's scooting his way out.
But yes, TypeScript was doing well. I think we gave them a nice we were a big customer. We represented a lot of applications and told them some things. It's funny, like RxJS actually influenced some features in TypeScript. So decorators were proposed. So actually, I think
Nicole knows all about decorators.
Yeah. So it was kind of hand in hand. Jaffer, I think, was championing decorators at that time, Jaffer Hussein, on TC39. And he was involved with RxJS and was starting to, I don't remember where the proposal for decorators either originated from the Angular team and Ember teams, like Yehuda was on TC39, Yehuda Katz, and I think he and maybe Mishko were working together on proposing it. So it probably did predate TypeScript because we were doing it in AtScript with the intent that we were advocating it be included in the language, and then TypeScript was like, hey, we'd be on board for that, and so they were like. That was the biggest thing why we couldn't use TypeScript, because they didn't have decorators, and why we needed our own annotation-based language.
Yeah, it's super cool to see like this huge Google project, Angular, like working with this Microsoft project. Like that was kind of cool to see those things, open source bridging the gaps between those two things.
Yeah, so, you'll find open source teams at companies, even if, and that was before, like Microsoft was a different company back then. I think that was pre-Satya Nadella. But yeah, you'll find that like the teams working on open source projects, that all the companies care more about the open source and collaboration and things like that than they care about like maintaining the status quo of we don't work with them or whatever. Like even the React team at Facebook, like we had meetings with, collaborated with, shared ideas with, and all that.
That's cool. Wes is in chat. He says hi. Hey Wes, thanks for stopping by. So yeah, that's neat. And so eventually in there, when do you and Victor branch out? Is that somewhere in Angular 5?
No, it's actually, so Angular 2 was released in September 2016.
Okay.
I think it's only like September 15th, and then by December 3rd or by December 5th, we started Nrwl. So after we had kicked around the idea of doing it, and a lot of it was based on me talking with my friend Richie at Strong Loop and talking with their CEO and him like saying like there's no reason why this same kind of model wouldn't work for Angular, and so it became more obvious to me that there's this missing. There's this gap in the market, and with Angular 2, I knew it would be good timing to that there would be demand for people wanting to do Angular 2 right, like going from Angular JS to figuring out what the migration looks like, figuring out best practices. So Victor, he was wanting to move back to Toronto, and I was looking to move on myself, and so
Phoenix is pretty nice, or Gilbert, where we're at. So.
Yeah, so
we don't have any pigs at my place though, so it's a little less nice.
It's some.
Yeah, I don't know where we can put them.
Yeah,
but maybe when we get our house, that might be cool.
You want some space for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we both, it's just the timing aligned that we were both ready to move on. Yeah. So we said, what about working together? And so. Like the things my friend Richie talked to me about, I knew if it was just me, it's like wouldn't be successful. But I mean, with Victor, we just complement each other so well, and like round out between the two of us, we make a pretty good founding duo. And it's
a very potent combination when you get a Jeff Cross and a Victor Sapkin together.
A Jeff Cross, I like that. But I like looking objectively at it. Like I had a lot of experience. He didn't. He has a lot of knowledge and depth that I don't. And we're both good at different things. So yeah, we checked all the right boxes between the two of us, and we knew we enjoyed working together.
Yeah, was NX when so was NX kind of always in the back of your minds, or Were you thinking you just do Angular consulting and see what happened?
So I had, like, early on, I had told him, or I had made my case that we needed our own thing, so that, you know, we could definitely do well for some time being the Angular consultancy, but the fact is that we wouldn't be contributing as deeply anymore, and so we would, over time, that would diminish because we couldn't keep contributing at the same rate we was, just by the nature of the way the project works. It's, you know, it's a corporate controlled open source project, which has different dynamics than like a community controlled project. And so we knew this differentiator would buy us a lot of time by being the Angular people, but we knew we needed something that we could kind of say, okay, here's our thing. It's the thing we're the best at. It's the thing that, sorry for my shrieking children.
That mine do the same, man. Mine do the exact same.
Yeah,
they're just being good for me right now.
Yeah,
on my
every time
live
there's
streams,
a
they're
new
always
game,
pounding on the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got this Nintendo Switch Lite. I don't know if I mentioned that.
What, what game are they playing?
Mario Maker 2. So where you make your own worlds.
Yeah, we've got that one. my 10-year-old really likes that one. He likes tinkering. So
yeah, they've been watching all the YouTube videos for it, so they're ready. But yeah, so so we knew we wanted something like, so I knew it deeply because I know the space better than Victor did, or like, you know, I had more exposure to like Strong Deep and other companies who, like my old company Unicon, and I knew it's like, we need our thing. Like, so Angular can be our thing, but you know, that's not a very good defensive position to be in where we're at now. And so eventually we started. So NX, we knew we needed something, but NX kind of happened organically based on us trying to solve problems with our clients, like working with larger clients. Like Capital One was one of the earlier ones we work with and still work with, and have been a great collaboration for some time. But like they have some massive repositories and some big needs for how to organize things, how to streamline their development, how to do things in alignment instead of having disjointed development across repositories. So monorepos kind of became a thing that we were seeing that we realized actually was really nice at Google, and we were seeing not a lot of adoption outside Google, and so we kind of started championing that with our clients, and then saw it was really hard to do it with Angular CLI at that point. Still, the R-style monorepo you don't get with Angular CLI, but yeah, so there wasn't. We were just doing so many things in a bespoke way for different clients that we started to see patterns and see that there was an opening for a tool that could help solve these problems, and you know, basically be an extension of Angular CLI, Nrwl extension of Angular CLI, NX.
Nice. I like that. When where we were at, I had just kind of like put my first Angular project on the shelf, and I was like, I wish I could reuse so much of this, because I built so much stuff in here. I just want to bring it over to my next project. And me and my friend James, we were doing all the Angular stuff at the company at the time. We would like watch all the ngconf videos, and think y'all had done something on NX, and we're like, that's it. we went to that right away. So I think we may have been like one of the earlier adopters in our little shop over there.
We announced it at Angular Mix in 2017, so like October 1st, I think, 2017, or somewhere around there. So that may have been the video you watched, and that's one of the few talks Victor and I have given together, which like
it was both of you, I remember. So I'm pretty sure it was that one.
Yeah, he and I really enjoy giving talks together, but we almost never do it anymore.
Yeah. Looks like we may have lost Jeff there. Oh. No, let me see if I can message him here. If not, we'll just wrap up here. Oh, he's back. He's back. Let me bring him in.
Sorry, I clicked leave studio or something. But
that's okay. That's okay. You're talking about you and Victor liking to do.
I think we both enjoy. I like giving talks with him anyway. Like maybe no one else does, but I enjoy the banter.
I love Victor's talks. I wish he did them more. I saw there was he did one on NGRX. Sorry.
So
Jeff.
just to recap, we were talking about me and Victor giving talks together and how enjoyable it is.
This would be
And you
much
say,
better if
"I
there was less Jeff
love
Cross.
Victor's talks." Mhm.
Sorry. No, I wish Victor gave more talks. Like the Angulars and Onion article, for example, amazing. I wish I want more. I want more of that. His talk on NGRX, I forget where it was, but really helped me take what I was like learning from NGRX, and a lot of what he was talking about was how I was thinking about things already. I just didn't have a solid way of expressing it. And he had all these slides and showing in modules, this is how this machine is getting built. I thought that was really insightful. But yeah, everyone in the comments was saying he was talking too fast. So maybe that's
we get that from clients. That's why it's good when he and I are on calls together, because I can help regulate his speed.
You can slow him down. Nice.
I think he's more cognizant of it now, so I think it's not as like he doesn't talk that fast now.
Yeah. Well, cool.
He's
man.
getting older, so he can't think as fast.
When you get the babies, they start slowing you down. I'm telling you.
Yeah. You should know.
Yeah, but I'm real slow these days. But yeah, it's super interesting talking with you about this stuff, Jeff. I really wish we had more chance to talk. Like the stuff with the data.
Once we get back in the office, you and I will have more chance. But,
There we go. Yeah, just hearing you talk about the data moving and coming up with better strategies for that. That's the kind of stuff that's really interesting to me. So
yeah, lots of fun things to recount when I think back on it. Lots of fun little research projects we did. There was also, like with IndexedDB, we did a pretty long. Where we did a bunch of stuff where we were doing a lot of benchmarking and things, which that
sounds like so much fun. Like I know about the API, but I've never used it. I've never actually used it, but I've looked at it and like this seems super helpful.
There was a team at Google who was making a project. It was still maybe active, but it was a project called Love Field that was a wrapper around IndexedDB, and it was really really great to work with.
Does PouchDB do that with the IndexedDB API?
Probably. It's probably more lightweight than Left Field, because Left Field was something where it was really good inside Google. Like it was built with Clojure compiler, and so if you use the Google tool chain, it would do tree shaking and everything the right way. But for the public library, I think they just published something that maybe wasn't as optimized. So PouchDB is probably better optimized for plain old non-Googlers like us.
Yeah, you're an ex-Googler. I'm a never Googler.
Well, you never know.
You never know. Who knows what the future holds? Well, Jeff, thanks so much for coming on, talking history, talking
thanks
open
for
source.
inviting me.
Yeah, man. All right. Thanks everyone for showing up. Tomorrow we got Brandon, and tomorrow we're at our earlier slot, so we'll be at 3:30 Eastern time. Hope y'all see us. Jeff, again, thank you so much for making Nrwl, for making NX, for coming on the show, for being awesome. And there's Brandon, right as I talk about him. So thanks, man. Yeah, I'll end the broadcast here. Y'all have a good day.
See ya.